Bledsoe was arrested.
Patrick Montgomery was in court.
Jonathan Manapa will stay in federal custody.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So 61-year-old New Jersey resident and retired law enforcement officer Michael Daniele, I think that's how you pronounce it, Danielle or Daniel, he headed to the Capitol even before Donald Trump was done speaking on January 6th at his rally. And Danielle was among the large group that overwhelmed officers and tore down the barricades at Peace Circle. That, as you might recall, it was the site of the very first breach of the Capitol grounds. So Danielle was there. He witnessed several of Trump's terrorists picking up and shoving barricades into the police. That, as you all know, resulted in one female officer who got knocked out. She suffered a very serious head injury. She testified in other trials that to this day, she is still suffering from that attack. She still has migraine headaches every single month. And yet, Danielle saw all of that, stepped on down barricades, and still headed onto the Capitol grounds. He stopped along the way to pick up an officer's hat that was on the ground. And when he reached the next police line, he handed it to one of the officers. But as he was doing that, other members of the mob were ripping barricades away from the police again. And Danielle was seen grabbing one of the barricades, and he moved it behind him. So sometime after that, Danielle was seen screaming at the officers. He was flipping them off with both hands. After the police line collapsed, Danielle was seen entering the Senate wing doors. That was shortly after they were busted open by Trump's terrorists. And the Capitol alarms were blaring, and there was broken glass on the floor as he entered. So he knew he was not allowed inside. In fact, Danielle even stopped after he entered, and he was seen taking photos of the broken windows. Nevertheless, Danielle continued on. He headed into the Capitol crypt where he had someone take photos of him. Then he headed back to the Senate wing doors and he exited the building. So he was inside a total of about 6 minutes. However, they say he was on the restricted grounds for several hours. So Danielle was arrested on February 27th of 2023, and he was charged with 2 counts of civil disorder, entering a restricted building or grounds, 2 counts of disorderly conduct, and parading or demonstrating in a Capitol building. Danielle refused a plea deal. He opted for a bench trial. And in June of 2024, Danielle was found guilty on all of the misdemeanor counts, and he was acquitted on the only 2 felony charges, the civil disorder charges. So he was looking at up to a combined 3 years in prison, 12 years of probation, and $210,000 in fines. But the government requested a sentence of only 11 months in prison, 1 year of probation, and $500 in restitution. At his sentencing hearing, Danielle expressed regret. He said that he, wished he hadn't taken part in the Capitol attack. And he told the court, quote, "My family has been through hell. I would never do anything like this again." I find it so interesting that these people will mention their family and how they've been through hell or they themselves have been through hell, but they don't bother to mention the police that went through hell. They don't bother to mention the family members of some of the police officers who died as a result of the Capitol attack. The ones who continue to suffer to this day because of their permanent injuries. His so-called brothers and sisters in blue. So I guess that thin blue line isn't that thin after all. Also, kind of hard to believe that he feels any regret considering how much he lied about his actions at the Capitol, because following his arrest, he told FBI agents that he was never closer than 40 to 50 feet from the quote-unquote action that day. They also said he told them he never touched any barricades. He also claimed that he only entered the Capitol because he needed to rinse his eyes out. And he called this entire thing a quote-unquote setup, and he actually blamed the police for the violence that day. This is a former cop. And then he continued to lie, they said, during his testimony in the trial. So even after all this time, he wasn't even arrested until 2 years after the fact. He had all this time to consider what he had done, see all the videos from that day, and he still wasn't willing to be honest about the facts and his actions. Now, all of a sudden, we're supposed to believe that, oh, he's so remorseful. He feels so bad. Unfortunately, he got a weak judge. So, U.S. District Judge Amit Mehta presided over Danielle's case. And like I've said before, he's just not the strongest, imposes very weak sentences. So he ended up sentencing Danielle to only 30 days of home detention he has to wear an ankle monitor, 2 years of probation, and a $2,500 fine and $500 in restitution. Absolutely absurd and weak, right? The guy got 30 days of Netflix and chill. The fact that he repeatedly lied to the court and to the FBI is bad enough, and the fact that they didn't even charge him with that. But then given that he was a police officer himself, this is just completely unacceptable. So, this is what's happening in our country. People are getting away with all kinds of things that they should not get away with. Like the worst attack on our Capitol in how many years? And yeah, you get to sit at home for 30 days. Oh, boo-hoo. Don't threaten me with a good time. Anyway, I'll let you all know if I hear any more. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please like this video, even though the ending sucked. Please subscribe. Please donate if you can. Share it with others so they know what's going on and that these are not political prisoners who are being horribly mistreated and just locked away for years in a dungeon. All right. Thanks again. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.